My name is Chris-Beth Cowie and the founder of Empowered for X. I'm currently sitting in our studio today and the host of BizGrams. As I mentioned earlier, we have the privilege of interviewing dynamic entrepreneurs. This entrepreneur in particular gives me lots of joy and pleasure introducing him. I've had the privilege of working with and beside him at Edge, Sheridan Edge, an incubator space supporting startup entrepreneurs, taking them from ideation to commercialization. And great mentors like Diego and myself have been part of many entrepreneurs' journeys. So welcome to you, Diego, and how are you doing this morning?
I am doing great. It's Friday. It's been a great week. Excited to join you on this. Yeah, I'm just good. Good vibes. Good vibes all around.
Hey, that is wonderful. So Diego, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you, and what or who inspired you on your entrepreneurial journey?
For sure. I'm a Canadian Colombian, and I had an amazing, fortunate, humbling journey being an entrepreneur, and part of that journey has lots of different detours, but I think overall, the way I would describe myself, these are things that also my mentors have said, is that I'm someone who's often a really good person when it comes down to building, and someone who can think strategically, and as well as someone who by being able to work with entrepreneurs, I've just gotten an opportunity to really support their journey, whether it is through running my own company, or whether that is through Edge and mentoring. And so, I'm an active soccer player. I love hiking up mountains here, and I love going out dancing and just connecting with people. So that's I'd say that's it's a little bit about myself, but in addition to that, I'm very much interested in social impact and working in things like financial inclusion. And right now, that's sort of the biggest thing that I'm interested in is financial inclusion by using technology. And so I'd say that's a little bit about myself.
Hey, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Diego. And you use some terminologies that many people may not be familiar with. And so talk to us a little bit about social impact. What is it and why is it important? And then subsequently, you talk about using that through a financial inclusion lens. What does that look like for you in your day-to-day?
Yeah, such a good question. And there's lots of definitions out there about social impact, but I think the way I've come to the social impact world is um, by working with Edge and learning that there is more than just profit when it comes down to doing business, and there is these other dimensions of doing business that are equally as important, if not more, right? And so growing up, as an immigrant and seeing my parents come from Colombia to the United States, and doing typical immigrant works like cleaning and pizza delivery, and really humbling opportunities to learn for me. And I think part of what ties into social impact and businesses working towards more than just profit, it comes from that journey, right? It comes from seeing that through my parents and through friends that I've encountered that have similar stories. And so where financial inclusion comes into play for me, at least, is growing up, we as far as my family goes, we always had this challenge around finances, right? And part of what I learned in that journey was that there's the gap of financial education that exists, and I think being a kid and trying to understand why we didn't have the financial means to do certain things. It motivated me to learn a lot about financial literacy and allowed me to get involved in different financial literacy opportunities like junior achievement, and even took me to working with the banks and understanding investments. And then shortly thereafter, I started realizing that there's a lot of people that are not included in the financial services, in banking, and there's a lot of exclusion that's happening. And I've always had a big passion for technology. When I was a kid, I remember just having a blast going into Best Buy and just enjoying being there. And so where technology comes in is comes from that interest in technology. While I'm very non-technical, I'm just so interested in what it does, what it can do. And when it comes down to financial inclusion or including more people in the financial education, financial services, using technologies feels like a way to create impact. And so I hope that helps unravel or a little bit more of those terminologies.
So talk to us a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. What have been some of the challenges that you've experienced, some of the mistakes or failures that you've experienced, and the lessons that you've learned?
Yeah. Yeah, there was one thing there that you said, and I'll really add 30 seconds to it. And reframing the concept of sales is so important for our entrepreneurs who do feel like that sandpaper feeling of selling, right? And I think it's one of those things where if you think about the value that you're providing to them, and you are fascinated by the value that they could gain from working with you, then the conversations that you have that are sales don't no longer feel like that because you're having a value conversation. So I would always say the way I have conversations nowadays about like the work that I do is I call them value conversations because I feel like I'm going to give you value, and I hope that if I do in fact do a good job at telling you the value that I offer, that you'll be willing to say, oh, I'd like to hire you because I feel like I'm going to get value. And so I know that it's difficult to sometimes reframe that because you're like, well, what is the value that I offer? And that's where those exercises about the value and the value proposition, the pain points and the solutions and all that stuff that we do, Chris-Beth, it's like a shift in the mindset about right selling. So really good point there because a lot of it comes down to that framework and the mindset. But I digress. My challenges I think around entrepreneurship have been definitely lots. There's been a lot of learning lessons. Recently I've been doing this exercise, this mental exercise where I reframe my losses or my fails as learning lessons. And so I think those learning lessons, quite a few, if I was to point at one or maybe just summarizing them, I think part of the work as an entrepreneur is that you will have to face those learning lessons. Like there's no way around it. Like there's no shortcut. There's no easy way to get out of them. Like you're gonna have, like, whether it is you submitted a horrible proposal, or you were not in the best mood and you had a call, and that call you missed to ask some important questions as you were discovering the needs of a client, or you made a mistake to bring on a co-founder and you didn't sign an agreement, a co-founder agreement, and you ended up doing 100% of the work. So I'm speaking from experience. So I think that these are things that are some of the challenges that I faced. But they're just so good. Like now it's like, I think back on them in retrospect, and I'm like, I'm so glad that I've gone through those, because I've learned so much. And these are things that you don't, I mean, how would you learn any other way within the context of entrepreneurship, right? Because within that context, that's what entrepreneurship is about, is going out there, getting those learning lessons and improving. And so I think challenges for me from again, submitting really crappy proposals, or not being in the right state of mind, or not doing my morning routine, and then hopping on a call and then not getting the client, or from like bringing on a partner that that's just not pulling his weight. What else? From even taking on sometimes, was that saying that you chew too much? Is that what you you take on too much work?
I just want to say thank you so much for being here again with us today, Diego. This has been wonderful. I'm sending you out with lots of love and blessings for today and beyond. Continue to do the impactful work you're doing with your clients, helping social entrepreneurs to build successful and thriving businesses. Thank you so much for being part of our community here at E4X as well, supporting our entrepreneurs. And we look forward to connecting again soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.